Hi, good afternoon, good morning, or good evening, everyone. I'm Terrence Wong, heading the APAC 5G industry community. It's great honor here again to one another webinar, or we always call virtual workshop. Today we have a great session about advanced public safety on critical communication and sub-theme with from voice-centric to data-driven solution. So today our webinar is also co-host with the Critical Communication Association. Great to have them and the speaker on today's webinar. So regarding to the workshop today is a lot of comprehensive content. So after my quick opening, we will have the Critical Communication Association, Kelvin, to give you some update about the global update on the development of critical broadband communication. And then follow on, we have a pair of speakers from New Zealand who will talk about public safety broadband journey. Moving on, we also have another pair of speakers from Australia. They will talk about the progress in Oceania critical industry infrastructure broadband NTN adaptation. And then next, we have Airbus speaker to talk about the use case, especially in water utility in Australia. And then we have a speaker from China Mobile International who talk about the recent China drive a new initiative about 5G network, how to cover the sky, how to support the low altitude economy. And then we have a speaker from Europe, from Huawei, who will talk about their support for a lot of mission critical communication in different vertical industry. And then finally, with a panel moderated by TCCA, and then joined with Nokia, and also Dr. Jolie Wong, the fellow police chief CTO, and also with Munich again. So please stay tuned to enjoy the session. So let me start. If you don't know about GSMA, we actually a global mobile industry association. We have members all around the world, including all the mobile operator and also very large mobile industry ecosystem. So we work very closely with government, our member, to drive digital transformation, digital economy in different nation, different market. So every year we host a large Mobile World Congress at Barcelona, Las Vegas, Shanghai, Africa. We also have our series of smaller regional conference. So why mission critical communication are so important for public safety? As you know, in the chart reported by Deloitte, actually have a good communication mechanism to support public safety agency is very critical, like firefighter and police, because there are more situation awareness is crucial, and then the service for facilitating for handling safety operation actually with increasing demand on number of disaster, terrorism, protests, different kind of activity that require public safety agent services. So about transforming public safety and mission critical network full 5G, I think existing narrowband communication is a very good technology. However, there's a new technology coming up, which is 5G, which is very powerful. In order to support the digitalization of the more data usage, so we see two key pillars, which is digitalization is required enable a culture for collaboration in common mission, and also using data maximization, the value of it is also very critical and important for public safety agency. So under that, they need to have different kind of involvement, citizen engagement, a horizontal platform to covering the government services, data sharing, situation awareness, and of course, cybersecurity is also very critical. For the path to success, transition from existing LMR to 5G, I think here I list some existing characteristics of narrowband system limitation. Existing data rate actually is not enough to support high bandwidth high data requirement. And also the existing traffic prioritization, algorithm usage, etc., is also not good enough to support a huge amount of data, to support video or different kind of new data usage. So that's why we come across 5G is just a very good technology. It's a proven technology, very secure, used it for a long time. And of course, right now, 5G have a lot of new capability, including the common pillar of features like eMBB, MMTC, URLLC. And also 5G come with feature for network slicing and also mobility for roaming. So it can roaming between public network and private network, and also edge computing capability. So we see 5G is very good technology to transform existing LMR system. For the 5G innovation feature, there are a lot of good opportunity for mission critical application. Here is a list of them. Of course, 5G is still an evolving feature. It can be expanded for a lot of new opportunity, including covering rural area, interoperability with the satellite network, and then of course with integrated access backhaul is also very important for cost saving, and also network national roaming, like what I mentioned, roaming between private network or using public network is also very good technology. So 5G is a evolving technology with a lot of new features coming. Existing already released 17 and release 18 also featured. So release 19 will be the new coming in the roadmap. So a lot of new technology here listed. It will expand the capability for more different kind of IoT device, improve in uplink, and then reduce the cost with the rack cap. It could connect different kind of devices, and I mentioned already it could interoperable with the satellite network to support uncoverage area, and also come with some new feature like passive IoT, means the IoT device can be batteryless, long time consuming without battery, and then support different kind of use case. Of course, there are also deterministic network, which is very critical for critical communication as well, and also precise positioning. So if you are interested, please go to the GSMM website to download this kind of case study, including webcap, 5G Advanced, or some very specific feature like deterministic network for industry. Here, I would like to highlight 5G is already widely adopted globally. More than half of the world already deploy 5G, more than close to 300 market, and then close to 100 market, and then more than 300 operator, close to 300 operator. So in the region APAC, we also have more than 20 operator roll out 5G. So we believe 5G will be a very dominant technology by end of 2030, covering most of the market and population. So here, just want to highlight 5G is not only a technology for consumer phone usage, it can also support different digital transformation for various sectors. So there are huge benefits for digital economy as well, including manufacturing, smart city, public services, healthcare, education, etc. I just come back from China. So China is so far is the largest scale of 5G rollout. So the government also mentioned 5G commercialization already brought direct economy benefit for more than 700 billion, and indirect spur about 1.9 trillion economy output. So APAC, actually, we have a 5G industry committee to support anyone who would like to learning 5G in different sector, how to 5G being deployed in airport, in container port, in transportation hub, in a hospital, in warehouse, or in a factory. So we have all recorded session, including today. So welcome to go to our website to download this information to learning and accelerate the 5G adaptation in your industry. This is our community, so great to have TCCA to work with us together today to host this webinar. Actually, besides these public services, we also have a different vertical to support different industry stakeholder to learning 5G. So welcome to join us. This is our very comprehensive, very dense calendar schedule. So welcome to join our activity along the year. Some of them are virtual, some of them are physical. So next one, actually, we have a Jakarta event about manufacturing and mining ecosystem. Welcome to join us on 12th of September. It's a physical conference. And we also have our mobile 360 at South Korea at the capital city, Seoul. It's about advancing digitalization with AI. Of course, we also have 5G industry section about smart mobility, manufacturing, and healthcare. So thanks again. We will post some of this information in the chat box. Just remind, if you have question to our speaker, please leave your question in the Q&A boxes rather than the chat box, because Q&A box is easier to follow. And our speaker, after their presentation done, they will stay for a while to help to answer the question in the Q&A box. Thank you. So now let me introduce the next speaker. Kevin Graham, the CEO of TCCA. Over to you, Graham. You can share the presentation. Yes. I can't hear you. I think you may mute. No, I can't hear you. I can see your slide, but I cannot hear your voice. I think you mute. You have to unmute.
I think I'm good now. Is that?
Yes. Now I can hear.
All right.
Please maximize your slide.
Yeah. It's all working perfectly before. Let's try that. I think we're there. Look, thank you again, Terence, for the introduction and for GSMA and hosting this webinar.
Yeah. You can also show your faces if you want. Yeah.
It should be.
You unmute again. You mute it again. Please unmute.
Should be good now.
I can hear you. Okay. Please go.
Okay. Let me get back to the presentation now. All right, here we go. Let me just start with a reminder about the core tenements of what critical industries require in terms of their network performance and capability when it comes to operational communications. So it's all about having coverage, access, and availability of the network 365, 24/7. The other key requirements are that all of the agencies, all of the departments can actually interoperate and talk together in times of crisis. And unlike some of the functionality on broadband, a lot is based on group communications, especially in a voice environment. Security is also paramount. Users have been used to trusted and secure networks, and as they move to broadband, they need to ensure that the same level of security prevails. And these solutions also need to be scalable, and the functionality and devices need to be fit for purpose for the end users. And these vary, remarkably between the different agencies, from firefighters to frontline policing. So TCCA, we were formed 30 years ago, came together as industry, worked with end users to develop the Tetra Narrowband standard, and alongside ETSI, we produced the Tetra set of standards, and these were commercialized, and we've seen a lot of the deployment of Tetra across the world. A similar thing has happened with the P25 standard, which was born out of North America. that have been providing services to these sorts of critical agencies. So our mission, Sense, is to embrace all of the broadband and particularly make sure that broadband delivers the same and better capability and more richer data features in a secure, trusted and standardized way. And our core tenement is to help develop the standards to ensure that they're implemented in a standard way and therefore maximize the opportunity for interoperability and support of all of the functionality that gets layered upon the core standards. So we work very actively with the standards organisations. We've been involved with ETSI in developing the TETRA standards, and we've been working alongside them in a number of programs I'll talk about in a minute in respect to broadband. TCCA also became the first market representation partner for the broad critical industry representation into 3GPP, and that remains one of our core pieces of work. And consequently, I'll talk a bit more about the partnering that we undertake to help foster that development in the 3GPP standards. And we're very lucky to have a global membership that spans from industry to end users, agencies, operators, mobile network operators, and all of the stakeholders that form part of the delivery and of services and equipment and solutions to the global market. And we're all about collaborative working, and hopefully from some of the things you see in this presentation, you'll understand why we work with other groups and why we're trying to drive information exchange and development of the ecosystem that will deliver commercial solutions to end users in a form that they can readily operate within their particular missions. I put this slide up because, again, our voice inside the global telecommunication market is very small. You know, there's over 7 billion consumer devices, and we have much less than 100 million devices, even if you add up all of the business enterprise, business critical, mission critical sort of users. But this number will start to increase in terms of subscribers as the adoption of IoT sensors and other connected devices will increase the usage within our critical industries. Consequently, we need to come together collectively, locally, regionally, and globally to aggregate scale so that we can drive this innovation, drive support of the standards and ensure the functionality and devices and systems that these end users have with some of their unique requirements can be maintained and continue on in the future. Consequently, we partner with a number of organisations in a formal way across standards bodies, across vertical markets like utilities, through certification, through the public safety market, through emergency number answering, which is at the front end of some of obviously the call taking from the public, operators, rail, and obviously, we're very pleased to be sort of working with GSMA to sort of broaden the exchange of information across the broader GSMA community as well. Very quickly, these are the sort of core areas that we focus on in representing all of our critical industry stakeholders. So it's really defining requirements through to delivering solutions, making sure that we're advocating around government regulatory and spectrum policy, ensuring as people move to or add on broadband capability, that security aspects are all covered, that we've got the same sort of broadband testing and certification in place and interoperability testing that users have enjoyed in their narrowband systems. As custodians of the TETRA standard alongside ETSI, we're still responsible for the evolution of TETRA and the ongoing interoperability processes that we have held as a core part of our mission from day one since the association was formed. and importantly, looking at what the future technologies and applications look like, and ensuring all the work we're doing will enable that evolution into some of those capabilities. And obviously, we're really interested in promoting and growing the global international communications community, because again, we need to aggregate scale for all the reasons I mentioned before. This is just a quick pictorial of the generations that have prevailed in critical industries, from analog to digital trunking. So analog, narrowband trunking, digital trunking. We're now moving into this era where people are augmenting with 4G, moving into mission critical LTE and 5G, and we're seeing obviously non-terrestrial networks become prominent in some of the requirements of end users. And clearly, we want to make sure that all of this capability translates into 5G advanced and beyond 6G. We will still see the narrowband technologies co-residing well into the future, because it will take these agencies, these verticals, significant time to augment their broadband, and those that have or have made decisions that they want to migrate to broadband will do so over the next 3 to 10 years or more. So we're going to see these narrowband and broadband networks co-reside well into the 2030s. I'm not going to go through all of the detail in these couple of, if you like, heat maps on what's going on around the world in terms of MCX adoption. But you can see we obviously have some commercial services that have started. We'll talk about a few of those. Procurement has started or has somewhat completed in some regions. And there's a whole bunch of procurement processes that are starting, and there's a lot of planning in other regions going on. And we've seen a lot of pilots around 4G advanced and 5G. There's been a number of deployments that have been implemented across the world, and various types of models of deployment, from fully dedicated network. Examples of those I'll go through in a minute. Hybrid access, shared access, including a mobile virtual network operation. We're seeing operators looking to provide multi-operator core networks, roam services, and so on. And there's some examples in our webinar today that will underline what's happening there. And obviously there's the private network deployment, and then there's the deployments where access to commercial networks is taking place. So that's a lot of this information has been sourced from one of our market research partners, Omdia, who are also predicting that the critical industry LTE market, devices, applications, and network are going to have compound annual growth rates in the order of 20 to 25% over the next 4 or 5 years. So healthy outlook for this industry, and particularly in critical industries. If you're interested in talking with people that have well on the path or have deployed networks, then you've got the likes of FirstNet, AT&T in the US. You've got a private deployment in Canada that's been rolled out in Halton and Peel County, servicing the public safety agencies there, with a view to interconnecting their existing private network into operators. And Canada's now engaged at a federal level in defining a path forward for a national level. You've got the deployment that has been rolling out in the UK, deployments in France. Sweden's procured their network core, assigned a mobile network operator to deliver services. In the Middle East, we've seen a lot of dedicated networks that are being provided by the operators that provided the narrowband Ketra networks. So a lot of the agencies are migrating across to those. You have Korea, where they put in dedicated network with the AIM SafeNet network, the aim of which was to provide services to government, public safety, rail, and also maritime. another great use case. We'll hear a bit more about New Zealand. And obviously there's deployments in China that have proceeded. Quite a few of the major cities there who have deployed shared government radio networks based on Tetra have started to overlay with broadband services as well. And the other program that's coming online fairly quickly is the Broad EUNet project. This is a project to look at establishing pan-European PPDR capability. They've been through proof of concepts and a number of rounds. They're now just going out to start some of their procurement process for that. So that's an interesting project to watch as well. We have a number of working groups. One is our critical broadband working group. This is a group that works in terms of broadband, in terms of standards, in terms of working on with ETSI and delivering some of the plug testing. We have another core sort of stream of work that pretty much relates to spectrum, looking at existing bands, looking at where we can harmonise for the benefit of the critical industries and public safety. We're also been doing some work around high power user equipment and looking at device-to-device side link. All of the narrowband users have off-network working, device-to-device without network or with gateways. We're working on side link as a potential broadband solution to meet those requirements. We also do a lot of work around providing white papers and guidances, and this is just a list of some that we've published or are near publishing. So there's quite a wide range of topics, and a lot of these task forces were set up essentially coming out of end user requirements and some of the priorities that were being seen from our critical industry, critical comms community. There's further work being done on these guidances around cybersecurity, another lot of work on broadband applications, spectrum evolution, quality, priority, and preemption. And we're doing some more work on outlining the device requirements, particularly around ruggedized devices and those to service frontline responders. Obviously, there's a lot of work going on around connectivity, including work on non-terrestrial networks. Because a number of programs around the world are looking at multi-operator networks or cross-border pan-European, obviously the mission-critical roaming is an essential feature that we need to work on. And we're partnering with GSMA that have helped pick up this particular work. And so you'll see some publications coming out shortly around the work that has been done by that working group and task force. And obviously in field operations, we're working on the broadband equivalent of paging, call out, and guidances around massive mission critical video. Obviously there's lots of expectations of being able to handle massive amounts of data, but there's also there needs to be guidance on how that can be done, given that even with broadband, there's capacity constraints on backhaul and at the edge. We're pleased that we've now, after a few years working on a mission critical program for certification, that the first 3GPP release 14 can now be certified, and we've seen the first devices certified in the last month or so. And we're now working on rolling this certification process, which mimics the work that has been done for devices, consumer devices on broadband networks for decades. So we're pleased that work is progressing, and will then give comfort that device manufacturers are meeting 3GPP mission critical functionality. We've also been asked to look at the possibility of working up certification for server to server environment. Obviously, as you move to deployments, you end up with a lot of servers that are servicing different agencies or different networks. The ability to be able to certify between servers and between networks is important. And obviously creating the same field interoperability testing that users have had in their narrowband. So one of our core missions is to try and bring a common vision, ecosystem and operation globally as much as possible, to drive sort of global market creation, try and make sure we're harmonizing as much as possible across business and mission critical industries where there is common requirements, end user requirements in terms of voice and data, and also to create end user market pull and make sure they're based around 3GPP MCX based requirements. There's a whole bunch of work going on around legal and regulatory that will need to continue to ensure that as these networks are delivered, that capability can be used functionally across the agencies. And there's some clearing needs to be done in terms of legal and regulatory matters in some countries. So people should take note of that. And obviously all of the spectrum issues I mentioned before. Our work continues on in advocating through our MRP, market representation, into 3GPP, ensuring all of the mission critical functionality is supported and does get worked through as the releases progress within 3GPP. Obviously, we're on the dawn of defining what 6G might look like from both the consumer to the mission critical market. We need to play our role in helping the definition of what our users may desire from a 6G future. Obviously, making sure that testing and certification is supported by end user markets so that that drives the device market in a harmonized fashion and a fashion that complies with 3GPP standards. I guess as a closing slide, this is really what we're trying to contribute to across the globe. Ensure that there's local and international cooperation. We're making sure that there's cooperation between industry, network providers and end users. And that also, we're leveraging the commonality across the different vertical sectors, even within our critical comms. So from utilities to government public safety, to mining, resource energy, and so on. If the lights aren't on, then the telecoms networks aren't for very long either. So, and ultimately, if we're going to make sure this evolution continues, we've got to cooperate, aggregate capability across the world. So that's what we're all about, trying to facilitate an environment where, alongside organisations like GSMA, that fosters this sort of cooperation. A quick note of a major event coming up in Melbourne. It's one of the major critical comms events that has been ongoing for over a decade now. In October, we also have some TCCA and the Australasian Critical Comms Forum, our local chapter, delivering workshops, and we have a whole bunch of international guests that are coming in from across the world. And I'm sure Alan will talk a little bit more about that. And this is our major event in the annual calendar. Next year we'll be in the heart of the EU in Brussels, in a international conference and exhibition, and we're pleased to have that hosted by Astrid, who is the national operator for the narrowband networks in Belgium, who are charting their course towards a mission critical broadband future. So this should prove to be a great event, and we hope that we can have GSMA join in this event. These are all my contact details. Feel free to message me or call me if we can, I or TCCA can help further. Thanks for your time, everyone.
Thanks, Kelvin. Very comprehensive introduction about TCCA, the role, and also seeing you guys already moving to the 5G, 4G standardization contribution, which is great to see the convergence of technology to support public safety services. So I see some of people raise the hand, but just remind, we may not have time to give you open the mic to ask question, but welcome you to post the question in the Q&A boxes. Kieran and other speaker, after their presentation, they will stay behind to look at the question in the Q&A box and answer you. So please use the Q&A box. So next, let me introduce the next pair of speaker coming from New Zealand. Ron Matthew, the head of business, Horura, which is a joint venture from Spark and One New Zealand, and also Paul Smith, Agency Engagement and Integration Director from NGCC. So over to you, Ron. Let me share your presentation. Share screen.
Cool. Thanks, Terence. Thanks for the introduction. Paul, you want to start first, and then I'll chip in once you get started.
Can you see the slide?
Yeah, Terence,
Okay.
if you just jump to the next slide, and I'll give a bit of an introduction into the public safety network here in New Zealand. So yeah, thanks for your introduction, Terence. So look, as Terence said, my name is Paul Smith. I'm the Agency Engagement and Integration Director for NGCC, which is the group that's charged with delivering the public safety network for our emergency services. So here in New Zealand, across the three services, we have 4 agencies. We have a National Fire Service, a National Police Force, and 2 ambulance services. The public safety network's being delivered over 3 core components. The first one being a narrowband voice-centric network, being a P25 Phase 2 network. That's been delivered by our partner Tate Systems New Zealand. So that was originally a joint venture, but we've just been through a bit of a reset in the program. Tate, because they provide the technology, have picked up that program in its entirety now. And Cordia, who are a large infrastructure builder here in New Zealand, have kind of taken a role as a subcontractor just to focus more on that sort of infrastructure side of it. Then the other component, and probably the most important one for our conversation here this evening, is the PSN Cellular. Once again, we're delivering a number of services within there with our friends here at Horura with Vaughan. The first product we've delivered is PSN roaming. So that's the ability to roam between Spark and One, our 2 major telcos here in New Zealand. The next service we'll be delivering will be Priority, so QPP. That'll be rolling out later this year. And then the other major one in the cellular space is deployable coverage, which will be rolling out early next year. So that's the ability to deploy coverage either where coverage doesn't exist or it's been taken out through a natural event. The last component is person alerting. So our approach to this is a little bit different in that we are largely just supporting the existing paging network we have here in New Zealand. St. John, or Hatahone St. John, and Fire and Emergency New Zealand both have large volunteer forces that they rely on across our country. So personal alerting is a very important component of this to allow them, those agencies, to provide a response. By supporting the existing network, that allows a bit of time for cellular sort of or investment in the cellular networks to progress, and them to move to a more of a cellular centric person alerting technology that will allow both obviously the alerting of the volunteer responders, but also that 2-way communications to confirm that a response is underway. Vaughan, I'll let you take the next slide.
Cool. So if we just next slide, Terence. Yeah, so Horura is, as Paul said, is a joint venture between the 2 largest telcos in New Zealand, Spark and One. And the first service that's gone live last year was cellular roaming, which allows public safety network users to automatically switch between networks if they lose coverage from their primary network, or they can switch manually as well, much like you do when you're roaming internationally. Currently, we've got about 15,000 users on that service, and we're looking to have about 35,000 by the end of next year. And you see, we've done currently so far about 400 and it's probably more than this now, nearly 430,000 roaming sessions without any issues. So the service is up and it's stable and it's working really well. Paul, you might want to just talk the next slide around just some of the user feedback so far with roaming.
Terence, if you bring up that next slide.
Oh, sorry, I'll do this first. Technical slide.
It's far too technical for me.
Yeah, so for those of you that love a good diagram of clouds, here's what we've built. I mean, effectively, we've joined three cellular networks together. So there's the one New Zealand RAN, the Spark RAN, and there is a third player in the New Zealand market called RCG, which provides a mock-in solution for 3 telcos in New Zealand. So we've also allowed roaming across their network for the Spark and One customers. The service works currently across 5G, which is non-standalone in New Zealand at the moment, 3G and 4G, with 4G being the primary mechanism for delivery currently. Works across obviously physical SIMs and eSIMs, and on the right-hand side there you can see a bunch of technical infrastructure was upgraded. There's a whole lot of three-letter acronyms there that I won't go through, but it was a relatively large program of work with about 180 engineers working for the best part of a year to deliver the service for roaming. So any questions in the Q&A that are super technical, I will probably get back to you in the next day or two, because I am not that person. Cool. Next slide.
Thanks, Vaughan. So look, obviously what we do is for the wider public in New Zealand, but the key users of this are our frontline staff. So this is just a couple of bits of feedback that we've got from police and one of our ambulance organisations. Police are still going through the process of migrating onto the PSN SIM for their sort of 14,000 frontline constables. This was an incident that occurred in the South Island, where it was in a relatively remote area where coverage from One didn't exist. And only one member of the staff had actually migrated onto the new PSN SIM. So what basically happened is that he was able to tether the rest of the users to him in a sort of in a command point type setup, and they were all able to access all the information they required around the offender and any of the intelligence that they had on them. They were able to sort of communicate back to their district command centre and run that incident quite safely. Given it was a firearms incident, you can imagine that it was a really kind of risky situation to be going into blind, which would have been the case had that one user not migrated onto the SIM. So we're starting to get a few more of these little stories that are coming through, which is encouraging us to keep going, which is great. The other one there, Wellington Free Ambulance, who's an ambulance service here in Wellington, the capital of New Zealand. We're out on one of the coastal areas. Once again, cellular coverage out there is quite patchy. The ability to navigate that helicopter to the right spot enabled a better response. So when we get sort of feedback from the front line like this, it's really heartening and encourages not only the NGCC team, but obviously the folks at Hodua to keep up what they're doing and keep pushing on.
Cool.
The next one.
Yeah, we'll just before we jump onto the next slide, Terence, just on that in terms of the coverage improvement. We saw about a net 5% improvement of usable coverage across the country. That's primarily where there was one or other cellular provider not present. So that means that they can now have access to that coverage. And a lot of the improvements, whilst you might think would be in the rural areas, because of the RCG network, and that's effectively a single mock-in, so a single tower servicing all providers, a large number of the improvements have actually been micro black spots in urban areas where you go around the corner of a building and there was no coverage, but you can pick up coverage from the alternative network. So that's been one of the key learnings, is actually it's urban environments where we're seeing a good degree of coverage improvement. The next service to go live in November, and they're actually doing some UAT testing tonight because it's 7:30 in the evening over here, or 7:45 in Wellington, is QPP, so Quality, Priority and Preemption. That's in the UAT this week and looking to go live in November this year. Effectively, that's a combination of QCI, COS, and access class barring to provide that QPP service across both networks. The main complexity for us has been aligning the two networks so that, as you can imagine, as when people are roaming, they get the same QPP service on either their home network or the roamed network. So that's slightly complex. So we're looking forward to that going live this year as well. So that'll be the great improvement for first responders. The next slide just shows the some of the testing was done. So the biggest problem we have is actually how do you test in the real world? We can prove it works in the lab, but the cellular networks generally don't get congested that much. So we've had to find a few unique locations, and one of those was at a Warriors, which is a rugby league stadium in Auckland, and we managed to in the real environment see QPP working. So that's great. So that's a good way to demonstrate it in use. Okay, we'll jump to the next slide. So just in terms of somebody's got some noise in the background.
Excuse me. Anyone who is not presenting, can you mute the line?
There might be Kevin.
Christina, can you have to mute Kevin's line?
Yes, I'm finding her.
Thank you. Thank you.
And as Paul said, the third service, which was we're just in pilot phase now and we'll be going live next year, is the rollout of deployables to provide cellular coverage where there is no coverage. We're effectively leveraging what they're doing in the US market with FirstNet and AT&T, which is two form factors, the mini NSD on the left there, which is effectively a Starlink device for the backhaul, and then a small cell in the other Pally case, and then the NSD on the right, which is a slightly larger form factor, has an aerial, obviously better range, onboard generator, and has the ability to put a larger radio head in it, so it's a more capable device. These are to supplement, these are for use by first responders, so these will be deployable in the field without radio engineers. That's the key. This doesn't do away with the need for cows in larger situations, but this is really to provide coverage for first responders so they can use themselves.
Yeah, the key to this technology that we're deploying is that ability for first responders to deploy them themselves. I've spoken to a number of people, both from the police and the fire service, who run the urban search and rescue teams here in New Zealand. And at a recent cyclone event we had here in the East Coast, they had to rely on Starlink, without that sort of cellular connection, the voice stuff. So they're really looking forward to getting this. We get a number of incidents, so rural fires in areas of no coverage. The ability to set a couple of these up around a large sort of footprint incident like that and provide coverage for that, and also search and rescue operations in our forests. It's going to be a real game changer.
Cool. And then just to close out with the last slide, just in terms of things we're looking at in the future. So we're going to be delivering a real-time network visibility service around March next year, which will allow command centers and eventually first responders to know the status of the cellular coverage where they're being deployed to, so they can make proper operational decisions on what they may need to take with them and what that might mean for them. Obviously, 5G standalone transition will be coming up in a year or two. The 3G shutoff, which doesn't really impact the service, but 3G will be shut down within the next year and a half across both networks. We'll be rolling out a over-the-top push-to-talk solution in the near future with the with the move to look to whether we can integrate that to a full MCX platform in due course, depending on usage and funding. And the last one that we'll be rolling out will be direct device to cell service that'll start being piloted towards the end of this year with SMS, and then we'll be looking to integrate the data side of that with mission critical users for the push to talk platform and other apps they have. So that's sort of the immediate term technology roadmap, and then there's a whole bunch of stuff that we'll be doing moving forward. Anything else you want to close with, Paul?
With it. Yeah, we're also with agencies to look at that kind of application ecosystem. As our technology platforms are able to deliver more information across the breadth of our public safety organisations, we need to work with them to develop, common operating platforms. So a first responder responding to a cyclone event in a valley on the East Coast collects information and then it's shared in real time back with the command centres and emergency operations rooms. And then obviously there's the convergence of the LMR, the cellular, the satellite, and having that 100% geographical coverage that we're all looking to, and the ability to share as much information as possible. So there'll be plenty of investment in the public safety communication space in the next wee while. That's me. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I think very good from Warren and also Paul to talk about the journey on New Zealand. I think it's very informative to see how public network being used because anyway, it's invested, right, for heavy investment. So now it can be really realized to use for public safety, with saving the life, which is very promising. So thanks. Paul and Warren, please stay because a lot of questions to you in the Q&A box. Please help to check and answer. So now let me introduce the next pair of speakers. We're talking about the progress in Oceania region about critical industry infrastructure, broadband NTN adaptation. So welcome Alan Seary, Chairman of Australia Critical Communication Association, and also Rory McDonald, Account Manager, World Business Center, Cloud Network Services from Nokia Business Group. Over to you.
Thanks, Terence. I think you've covered off the first slide for us with the introduction. Much appreciated. I'm sharing here a few infographics. This is one on mining, and I have one here on the energy industry, and a third one here on utilities. Now, these slides will be available to you all after the presentation, and they've been shared with the agreement of Acura Technology. So thank you for that. So you guys can take a deep dive into these later if you wish to take a look. But for all operations, digitization is multifaceted. But I guess what we're seeing is that reliable, high-performance connectivity is critical to the success of all these endeavors. Solutions now exist that can support the needs of mining, energy, and utilities. And now in Australia, thanks to the ACMA, which is the Australian regulator, spectrum for private networks is now available across all of Australia to enable these networks to be built. With broadband networks, we're seeing the full breadth of use cases deployed that cover all voice and data needs, including push-to-talk over broadband. But most importantly, each service has a relevant quality of service applied to reflect the criticality of that application. Even with the appropriate design and traffic mapping, we have not yet seen an operational private network that has gone into congestion. Some real-life examples are everything from NB-IoT tank level sensors that you'll see here in the left-hand picture, which is transmitting small amounts of data infrequently, to the other extreme where we see some real-time remote control with high-definition video over a 5G network. And I guess there's everything in between. Here are some pictures from a port project that had a 4G network deployed to cover operations and is now also having a 5G network built in parallel by a complementary organization. The port of Port Hedland is the world's largest bulk export port, and exports include iron ore, lithium, and salt. The port is responsible for over 100 billion of Australia's GDP. That's $280 million per day. The high-level requirements were focused on delivering a private broadband network which would support IT and OT use cases with appropriate levels of application integration, security, and performance assurance. The key objectives of this private network were to support an IoT sensor network, so connecting an extensive marine sensor network which ran across internal port operations and all the way out to sea. It was also to support a managed internet service for seafarers, so enabling visiting seafarers to bring their own devices and then connect to the internet via by inserting a SIM from this private network. There was also use cases around supporting worker mobility. So Pilbara Port Authority workers work across a vast geographic area, which is not only just land-based. So the marine pilots are choppered out to ships. There's extensive work boats working across the area. And all of these workers need secure and safe access to a variety of different applications. And one other criteria from the deployment of the 4G network was for it to be future ready. And with that, they deployed a 3GPP standard-based solution that would ensure that their current investment was future-proofed. This vehicle as a node concept will include low Earth orbit satellite services and hardware, as well as mesh 4G routers to provide seamless and robust connectivity. This solution will enable the use of radios, mobile phones, and other handheld devices anywhere and at any time, even in remote areas or if communication infrastructure has been damaged during a disaster. In my opinion, this is a great example of focusing on the use cases for the end user and using a technology platform in the background to deliver those services. So these are some of the big names in the LMR industry, and excuse me if we've missed out on a few. It wasn't intentional. But what is significant here is that each of these vendors now offer at least one 4G-enabled LMR capability device in their solution sets. From an end-user perspective, the industry is focusing on the use cases. The connectivity is becoming agnostic and able to use all mediums available, picking best path for backhaul. The benefits of this now converged approach are that, one, it preserves legacy technology investments, which is really important. The user familiarity and operation of the device remains the same, so keeping it simple for the people who are used to using devices. And there is a roadmap to full integration. So Australia's National Emergency Management Agency has advised of the anticipated release of an open RFI for a national public safety mobile broadband network solution. The RFI, in the first place, will seek to determine and gather information on what technical and service offerings for a PSMB capability and network solution that are available in the market. This RFI will ascertain the costs involved in establishing, operating, and maintaining a national PSMB network. But as you can see from our previous presentation, our New Zealand friends are way more advanced in their deployment of their solution. I'll now hand over to Rory from Nokia for an update on rail communications.
Thank you, Alan. Next slide, please, Terence. In today's presentation, it's going to be very brief. I'm just going to walk everybody through the drivers, the requirements, the architecture, the timing, and maybe we'll get a chance to provide a quick overview on two key projects which are being carried out in Europe. From an FRMCS perspective, that's Future Railway Mobile Communication System, the key needs are demand for broadband, optimization of the networks, and long-term support. 5G is the technology which will deliver or address those needs. For example, long-term support. GSMR has served the rail sector very well since 2000, but we will see a move towards 5G-based FRMCS from 2027 onwards. When we talk about the requirements, again, which is a key theme from today, we're talking about critical communications. And in the case of rail, it's voice and signaling, enabling automatic train operation and train control. But in addition to that, because we've got additional broadband provided by 5G, we'll also see performance communication being addressed, i.e. we'll see applications such as CCTV, passenger information system, staff communication, all being enabled on board the train. Next slide, Terence, please. Here we see the rail environment that will be enabled by FRMCS. So it's the worldwide standard for railway, successor to GSMR as mentioned earlier, but it's also the key enabler for digitization and the enabler for mission critical communications across the rail environment as a whole. We will see FRMCS enable communications across high-speed rail, freight trains, mass transit. But in addition to providing connectivity along the trackside, it will enable communications within the stations, the depots, and we'll see additional applications such as automatic train operation within shunting yards, i.e. driverless shunting of trains. We'll also see a move away from Wi-Fi within the depots towards 5G-based connectivity. Next slide, please. When we talk about the architecture, it's a three-layered architecture. We've got the transport layer, which is 5G based. We've got the services layer, and again, mentioned a number of times already, mission critical communications in the form of MCX. So that's mission critical push to talk, mission critical video, and mission critical data. And again, this is all part of the FRMCS standards development. And they're 3GPP compliant and ETSI compliant. And as you can see, the railway applications are decoupled from the services layer and the transport layer. But the railway applications in the form of voice, signaling, critical communications, but also performance communications in the form of CCTV, machine-to-machine learning, passenger information, will also run over the MCX applications. Next slide, Terence, please. Here's a key reference from Nokia's perspective. So we're working to deliver the radio systems replacement project over in Western Australia, but this can be viewed as a pre-FRMCS deployment. So in this case, as we've talked about earlier, we've got the underlying, in this case, the LTE network, running over an IP and PLS backhaul network, supporting mission critical voice, data, and video services. Nokia is implementing an MCX solution to address this. So therefore, the voice will run over the MCPTT data in the form of signaling MC data. And then we've got the video services as well, such as driver assisted video. But in addition to that, to meet the cybersecurity requirements here in Oceania, Nokia is also deploying a cybersecurity solution from an end-to-end perspective. Terence, next slide. So here we look at the timings of FRMCS. So as you can see, top left, FRMCS version 2. The standard will be finalized October 2024. And just below that, you see the arrow showing the 5G rail project. So this is a project which was run in Europe, pre-FRMCS project. And the outcomes of that were fed into version 2 of the FRMCS specifications, and also towards the Marane 2 project. So when we talk about Marane 2, we talk about the mobile radio for railway networks in Europe. When we talk Marane 2, it's FRMCS. Marane 1, for example, was the project which was used to test and develop GSMR. Marane 2 involves lab tests and field tests, but the outcomes of this project itself will also feed into FRMCS version 3 of the specs, which will be the final specification, i.e. the production specification, and this will be available in Q4 2026. So once the specs are available, we'll see the first rollouts of FRMCS and the migrations from GSMR to FRMCS in circa June 2027. Because I've just got 5 minutes, that just provides an overview of FRMCS. But in addition to that, I've provided a couple of additional slides on the 5G rail project, which I talked about here, and also the Marane 2 project. So that's basically for your consumption after this presentation. So I'll just hand over to Alan now.
Thanks, Rory. So I hope this presentation has demonstrated that existing narrowband solutions are still very relevant and that the investment is well justified, but that now there's a way forward. many multimodal solutions are emerging that can use many different backhaul technologies, including low Earth orbit satellite services. The secret to future-proofing your investment is to ensure that your path forward is standards compliant. This enables interoperability and choice. So before I wrap up, I'd just like to make you aware of some upcoming events. 3GPP, along with the TCCCA, will be presenting an update on global standards initiatives in Melbourne. Also presenting you with an opportunity to make your voice heard and influence the future roadmap of features and functionalities. So, and of course, as Kevin said, Comms Connect is on in Melbourne in October, with the ACCF workshop being held the day before. So all these date details are available on our website. So please check them out, and we'd love to see you participate. And with that, I will hand back to Terence. Thanks, Terence.
Sure. Thanks, Alan and Rory. I think very good to hear about how Australia is progressing, especially issuing an RFI about the PS broadband. So I think it's a great opportunity for international participation with a huge market in Australia. And of course, also great to hear Rory mention about how GSM-R being evolved in the next stage of to support high-speed railway as well. So yeah, if you have any question to them, please go to the Q&A boxes to leave your question to them. They will stay for a while to answer your question. So there are some questions there, Alan and Rory, please take a look. So now let me introduce the next speaker, which is coming from the Airbus Public Safety Defense Department, Munir Ali. Over to you. The topic is about broadband MCX for water utility in Australia. Yes, you can share your slide, Munir. Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, great.
Okay, very good. Thank you for introduction, Terence. And I will be introducing the broadband MCX migration for a large and critical water utility in Australia. I am the Airbus Defence and Space Public Safety and Security Technical Solutions Manager for APAC, based in Kuala Lumpur. So just a brief introduction of what our customer is and where they operate. So our customer operates out of Canberra, which is the Australian Capital Territory, and they provide the water services to all the Australian Capital Territory. Water services means supplying of fresh water, treating the sewage water, and operate all kinds of water-related services. It looks a very small area in the context of Australia, as you can see in the red dot. It looks very small, but on the left side, the area is actually consists of 2,500 square meters. And the fact that I want to highlight here is that 30% of this area where they operate is not covered by the terrestrial networks. So that was a big challenge when the customer was considering the migration from a narrowband to a broadband network. Because the customer supplies water, and water is considered essential for life, so the mission critical service that was required should be fully on a mission critical grade level, and that's why they have chosen Airbus to supply them the mission critical grade MCX service. Now, why the customer decide to migrate from their narrowband to a broadband network? One of the reasons of migration was that the customer's existing TMR network, trunk mobile radio network, that they were operating on was only operating on voice communication mode. The existing network was based on MPT technology and was close to the end of life. The network owners that were operating that narrowband network at the time we started discussions decided to close down their narrowband TMR network. The existing service that they were using was only based on voice communication, so there was no other value-added communications on top of voice for their existing enterprise network. And when they were thinking about 4G migration, the biggest concern for them was to if they migrate to a broadband-based network, how they will operate in areas where the network is not available today. As I've shown you in the previous slide, there is 30% of area that was unfortunately not covered by any of the terrestrial networks. And of course, the link to the topic that their main tendency was to migrate from voice-centric application to data-centric applications, so that they can use not only voice for critical communications, but all other kinds of applications that you will see in the slides, upcoming slides. So I think it's very important to discuss briefly the engagement model. The system that they were using was MPT 1327 based system that was retiring. Airbus has decided to partner with an extremely professional local Australian integrator, which is Vertel. And Vertel was priming this whole network to Icon Water by integrating all different kinds of applications and network functions that you will see in the upcoming slides. We were engaged very initially in the RFP. We got the first RFP from the customer. We have passed through a very rigorous proof of concept where the customer has tested our applications for around a month or so. Then a second refine RFP phase came, where the customer has refined their requirements and they come up with new requirements. We went into the commercial negotiations, and finally the contract was awarded to, was finally awarded to us end of last year. The initial scope consisted of a dedicated MCX platform. So we deployed a dedicated MCX platform for this particular customer. There was a requirement of having a platform availability on Android and also on iOS, which we were able to comply. There was a requirement of providing command and control applications, several integrations with third-party applications that you will see in the upcoming slides, and a very rigorous requirement of training of end users, not only an instructor-based training, but also modular software-based, system-based training was a requirement. And then all kinds of end-to-end services, which means design, implementation, project management, third-level support, and the complete managed services. Other than the primary scope, which consists of MCX, as you have seen in the previous slides, the challenge was how to provide the ubiquitous coverage. So there was a requirement of integration with the satellites as well. Coverage extensions for the terrestrial networks where the existing 4G network was not available. In-vehicle deployments with multi-tier routers that can connect to several kinds of technologies. Audit or recording interfaces, advanced interfaces with MNOs like RX interface, EMBMS, etc. Integration with existing PMR networks, especially the ones that are GRN based. So all these were also discussed during the negotiations and the contract phases. So finally, what we have deployed. Here's the architecture of what we have deployed. So we have deployed a dedicated Airbus comprehensive end-to-end MCX platform. The platform was based on is deployed on a tier 3 data center hosted by Microsoft Azure. Customer is using our data center applications, which is AgNet Dispatcher in the command control center. They are also using mobile devices, which is Android and iOS. We have provided them these connectivity to these mobile devices through the terrestrial 4G network, whatever MNO is available, and then secondary networks through satellite and Wi-Fi. So broadband network was not only limited to a 4G network from an MNO, but it was also supplying the parallel carrier through satellite and Wi-Fi kind of connections. Of course, the platform is fully ready with all the industry standard interfaces, namely RX interface for priority and preemption, and EMBMS for mobile broadband and multimedia services. On the integration with the narrowband side, because it was considered an important requirement for operations, we have also our platform is also capable of integrating with a narrowband system, a third-party narrowband system, either through a radio gateway or through a standard IWF interface. But that's the core part that you see on the upper layer. The bottom layer is more of how the platform is capable of integrating with third parties as well. So besides providing the principal core functionalities of MCS, we have also integrated the network with the telephony. So the network is integrated with the existing fixed line telephony of the organization. The network is completely capable of integrating through the open APIs with customer-specific applications, and these customer-specific applications include, for example, single sign-on. So Icon Water had their authentication platform already deployed via Microsoft. What we have done is that our platform in Agnet is fully capable of integrating with customer-specific authentication application. And now the customers would enjoy a common authentication with Agnet. So instead of writing a separate username and password for Agnet for logging into the application, especially mobile application, customers would be using a common application and would be dialing in through the SSO and utilizing that facilities. All possible through the open interfaces that is available through the open APIs on the Airbus platform. And finally, we also have integrations with third-party machines that includes body-worn cameras, fixed CCTV cameras, drones, or any other IoT sensors. So that was also offered to the customer as a part of this platform offering. Now, what the whole Agnet platform provides other than the core functionalities. So on the left-hand side, you see the M6 core functionalities that are standardized by 3GPP, which is voice, push-to-talk voice, push-to-talk video, push-to-talk data, and all the safety and security features that are available in the 3GPP standardization. But beyond that, the Airbus MCX platform we have developed tailor-made application for specific verticals. So Agnet Dispatcher has been developed for mission-critical users that are looking for command and control applications for mission-critical use. Agnet Tech Team has been developed for SOT forces that are looking to track in the real time their field forces of where they are going and passing information in real time. And Agnet Turnaround application, command and control center, mission-focused application has been developed for airport operations. So the airports that are looking for optimizing the turnaround time of aircrafts, Agnet Turnaround application is the right application for them. Besides that, we are certifying and managing the life cycle of the most adapted devices for the use of mission critical today in the industry. Whether the device is coming from a consumer world, or whether it's coming from an enterprise world, or whether it's a requirement of the most complicated accessories, Airbus has certified all the various kinds of devices and accessories for its customers. On the API integrations, we provide endless integration capabilities to the external systems. So some of the external systems are shown over here, whether it's a bot or a fixed CCTV, a body-worn camera, or a camera that is connected in a drone. All these machine-to-machine interfaces are available to be integrated on the Agnet MCX platform, thanks to its IoT management capabilities. And then on the connectivity side, we are providing a broadband solution through the cloud connectivity. We are still supporting and deploying widely the Tetra networks throughout the world. And we are developing and deploying SATCOM-based hybrid networks as well for all of our customers. And to complement all the portfolio that we have, we are providing the end-to-end services for our customers and partners to design, deploy, and maintain for the whole life cycle of their solutions. So in terms of MCX feature set and what the customer, the Icon Water customer is getting today, you can see in the bottom, a narrowband bar has been put. You can see in the narrowband world, they were only able to get voice and PTX services. But thanks to the deployment of Agnet MCX, they're able to get all the features on the right side. So multimedia communications, standardized 3GPP multimedia communications, video, file sharing, emergency alerting for users that are working in environments where there is nobody else with them. So lone worker protection in case if a user falls down. A lone worker alert will be generated automatically with its location and hot mic enabled on the command and control center. A fully integrated map view, not only in command and control center, but also available on the mobile screens, and a live enterprise directory. So all these are the examples of the applications that our Icon Water customers are getting today on their platform. So how are they using these platforms? They're using these platforms through these devices. I've discussed them briefly in the previous slide. We are certifying various kinds of devices that includes ruggedized smartphones, which is specific for enterprise and mission critical industry. Usually these phones come up with the large PTT button on a smartphone and sometimes with a vertical knob and an emergency button on top of them. So we support various kinds of devices on our platform today. And if you want to know more information, all these devices are available on our websites, the ones that we certify. We also support all the COTS phones. So if a customer decides to use their own personal phones for applications, we support a wide variety of iOS and Android devices. And we support specialized accessories as well. So we understand that our customer, if they are using some of the COTS phones, and some of the specialized mission critical features won't be available to them on their smartphone, then they would be using specialized accessories. So in this case, in Icon Water case, customer is using RSM for very high volume, audio volume, and rotary knob. These are the features available in RSM today. Airbus is also working in one of the RSM, which is not available today yet, but we will soon be launching it for our customers. Other than device, we are also providing complete end-to-end command and control center applications to this customer. That includes Airbus Dispatcher, where all kinds of one-to-one and one-to-many communications can be managed. Not only that, location, live location, history of the locations of the users can be tracked on the map, all based on Web Dispatcher. We are also giving the customer the ease of using their own administrative tool, which means the customer can create their own users. They can deploy profiles in a matter of seconds. They can give priorities to certain talk groups. They can give priorities to certain users thanks to the web admin platform that we are deploying for our customer. Also available some of the other advanced features like recording on our platform, where customer can use a web-based interface for recording and redemption of the of the calls as well. Of course, they can choose whatever calls to record and whatever calls not to record. And then some of the advanced applications where our customers do not want to use cloud-based applications like video conferencing. We are also deploying for our customers specific video conferencing solution that comes with completely isolated networks, that can work with completely isolated networks. So video conferencing is also a part of the command and control center suite of applications that we provide. So here's just an example of how the SATCOM service has been deployed. So traditionally, of course, the broadband user was also only using a 4G, 5G service. But today, as you can see in the orange line, the customers are able to use a secondary carrier as well, either to directly connect its mobile with the command and control application or with the MCX application, or to use satellite as a backhaul. But in both cases, the deployment architecture will be quite similar. And this is exactly what we have done for our customers. So thanks to our partners, Voltel, this is a live picture of how the solution has been deployed for Icon Water. So for when they go in areas where terrestrial network is not available, the secondary carrier for them is always a satellite connection. And today it's based on a LEO connection. So a smart router has been deployed in every vehicle of Icon Water that is connecting primarily to the 4G network. But as a secondary carrier, whenever the customer move out of the terrestrial network, it connects automatically to the LEO network that is available on the same smart router. And the access to this LEO network and 4G network is managed through the Wi-Fi. Today, the Wi-Fi coverage is limited to 50 and 100 meters, but we are working in Airbus with the customer on vehicular relay concept. That with that concept, we believe that the coverage would extend to a kilometer, around a kilometer range. Of course, the QoS and prioritization is implemented on the AgNet platform, but this is the architecture that is deployed on the vehicle for Icon Water. On the fixed location, customer had an issue with the 4G coverage as well, and you can see some of the statistics. Some of the locations that our partner has surveyed, the coverage was only the good coverage was only 12%. So thanks to Vertel for deploying repeaters that has contributed to the efficiency of 90%. So some specific solution has been deployed to ensure that if a coverage is not available for the customer operational areas, then that coverage must be available through either a private networks or through the repeater solutions. So in this particular case, the repeater solutions are deployed in buildings, and the coverage is enhanced from 12% to 90%. So last few words on how what are the different ways the customer can deploy Airbus AgNet MCX platform. So as you can see on the first left-hand side, customers can deploy the Airbus AgNet MCX platform using the MNO network, where AgNet multi-tenant core server is co-localized with MNO core, and it can serve various customer organization through the single MCX multi-tenant platform. If you see in the middle, and I have highlighted in red because this is exactly what we have deployed with our Icon Water customer. So the first one we call AgNet MCX SaaS, the second one is AgNet MCX Dedicated, and the third one is AgNet MCX Private. So second one is exactly how we deployed it for our customer for Icon Water. It is using MNO network, but the AgNet core is hosted in the end customer premises, and it is dedicated for the use of the particular organization. So it can be shared with the other organizations as well, and that's our platform is fully capable for that. But the difference between the first one and second one is that in the second one, MNO is not responsible for deploying the AgNet MCX core server. And then the last one, where AgNet solution can be integrated with fully private 4G, 5G network, that where even an internet connectivity is not required to be deployed. So here an AgNet network can be integrated into a 4G, 5G network that is totally private and nothing to do with the MNO. We are seeing some of the latest deployments where a RAN network could be used by the MNO network. That's why I mentioned private or 4G, 5G MNO network. But in this case, customer deploy their own MNO network, and we can integrate with the customer's specific MNO network, the AgNet MCX platform. So these are the three deployment models that we have for our MCX. That concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Munir. I think very comprehensive elaboration of the MCX solution. So a lot of questions in the Q&A box. Please help to check and answer. And also, Rory, there are also some questions about GSM-R. Maybe you can also take a look at the Q&A. So now let me introduce the next speaker coming from China Mobile International, Mr. Guo Song, Product Manager from the Enterprise Business. He will talk about 5G network-linked UAV solution to ensure low altitude safety. Over to you, Guo Song. Over to you. You have to unmute and share your slide.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
See my slide here.
Not yet. Yes.
Just
Please
1 second.
maximize.
Right. Is it okay now? You can see my slide.
Not yet maximize. Can you maximize it?
What about this time?
No, it's still the normal mode, the normal view. Or you maximize the.
Can we do it again?
Yeah.
Right. I just reshare it.
Sure. Maybe you have two screens, right?
What about this time?
No,
Right.
still the normal view.
The normal view.
You have two screens. Maybe you share another screen.
Just 1 second. I only have one screen here.
Oh, really?
Right. Let me close and just reshare it.
To the audience, if you have question, you can put into the Q&A boxes. And our session have a 10-minute delay, so yeah, please stay tuned.
Right. What about next time, Terrace? You can see
Still,
my
I still see the normal mode. Maybe you maximize the slide page.
right.
Or,
Let
because
me
now it's
must-
50%.
Right. What about next time?
Still the same.
Still the same.
Should I?
Oh, right. You can see that.
I can see the slide, but just too small.
Too small. I already made the full screen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway,
right.
In that case, we still go ahead first because we don't have time.
Right.
Yeah, a little bit small, of course.
You can see the full screen from your side, or not?
Not full screen. It's a normal screen. We still see the left-hand side with your navigation bar. Yeah. But anyway,
What about next time? Right.
You need to share the entire screen.
Yes, I already shared from my side.
Yes, looks like the output is they detect you maybe two screen. So now
right. Okay.
But anyway, yeah, let's start. You
right.
use this screen to show it, don't worry.
Okay. Let me just go ahead since the time limitation.
Exactly.
Right? Okay. Right. My topic for today is about the 5G NetLink UAV solutions. This solution deployed from China Mobile, right? And we have three parts of this solution. The first part for the UAV part, that's included the UAV main bodies like drone. And meanwhile, we integrate another, hardware small box as 5G CPEs. And using this small box can directly connect it to the 5G networks through the wireless part and the call net part and transmissions to the ARM part as the CMLC. We call it as China Mobile Link Cloud. Cloud. That's for control the entire UAV main bodies to setting up the routines and making the patcher solutions here.
Hey, Mr. Guo Song, maybe I share your slide
You
in
from
my side.
your side? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Right.
Okay.
Right. Daytime fine. Right.
Okay. You go ahead.
To next. Right. I go ahead.
Okay.
Right. Okay. Cool. And before we, right. Can you just go to next slide? From next slides, I put a small video clip there to introduce the whole solutions.
When 5G, big data, and AI bring new opportunities to industries in our life, we are attracted here. Our imagination of the future will be restructured through digitalization and intelligence.
Only take 2 minutes.
With this powerful network and the huge number of users, China Mobile has put forward its 5G-powered drone solution, which is supported by 3 core capacities: China Mobile Link Cloud, Network 5G Low-Altitude Coverage Solution, and the terminal, Hubble One. Point-to-point signal transmission is adopted between traditional drones and their ground controllers, which is limited by distance and easy to be disturbed, with weak transmission signals. China Mobile uses 5G mobile communication cellular network to replace the traditional drone self-built communication and control link, C2 link. Remotely control the drone through the cloud platform. Realize real-time data collection, real-time image transmission, and real-time analysis. Hubble 1 can transmit and receive 5G signals. It is installed inside the drone and cooperates with the smart brain, China Mobile Link Cloud, to realize the all-time control of the UAV. The image data collected by the UAV are transmitted back in real time via Hubble 1 with 5G signals, with flow delay in a high rate. The data will interact with China Mobile Link Cloud and can hence meet the needs in different scenarios through AI algorithm and office processing. Through the combination of multiple types of equipment, 5G-powered drones are able to undertake diversified missions. In the field of traffic, various kinds of drones with professional HD cameras, infrared thermal imaging equipment, and autonomous analysis based on AI algorithm can efficiently complete large-scale and diversified inspection and monitoring, and can transmit back and synchronize the data in real time. This data can be used to assist and guide relevant departments in troubleshooting and rectification, facing the emergency support work. Equipped with wireless communication base stations, together with the satellite transmission approach, 5G-powered drone can carry a variety of remote sensing equipment to obtain information and achieve high-precision 3D modeling. It can be widely used in the construction of major national projects, disaster emergency response and treatment, land supervision, resource development, and so on. 5G-powered drone equipped with special load equipment, supporting the intelligent hangar of UAV. It connects with the traffic control center through the Link Cloud platform. Real-time video display, unified scheduling, remote control of police scene, and on-site investigation and evidence collection can be realized in Command Center. 5G-powered drones work together with professional firefighting devices, hence realizing 24-hour no-blind corner supervision and monitoring, as well as fire extinguishing on a burning point of a part, which can be of great help to fire prevention and firefighting in forest areas. Combined with various professional devices, 5G-powered drone of various kinds may undertake a variety of tasks for the city, such as mapping and patrolling, efficiently and steadily. We believe digitalization and intelligence will continuously broaden the boundary of machines. Let the invisible wisdom drive the accelerating future.
Right. Okay. Could you go to next slide? Right. You know, this small video clip can save us quite a lot of time. So for the coming pages, I will go very quickly. You know, this they are entire solutions. From the bottom, we need the 5G networks, and up there is the terminal layers. Currently, we have three hardwares. One is called the Harbor 1, that's a 5G small CPE, and the drone UAV main body, and also can work with the UAV hangars. And for this platform part, is the control how the UAVs doing their activities and tasks. About that is the solution part. Solution that's according to the you know, individual industry solutions, like we can do the public security, traffic management, smart parts inspections, etc. Right. Could you go to the next page? Right. You know, for the UAV working levels, most working on the low altitude levels from like below 300 meters, just because, you know, all the signals for the 5G antennas need to connect to the UAV main bodies to doing the 5G communications, right? Could you just go to the next page? Right. We name it as a 5G network linked UAVs. Actually, you know, from the hardware part, connect to the 5G data networks, and from the last end, we control the entire UAVs from the cloud platform. This cloud platform, we name it as CMLC. That's a China Mobile Link Cloud. That's actually is the UAV management, you know, platform. right? Next page. Right, this is the online platform. So you can log it from the website part for the SaaS applications, and for the some industry customers, they can also deploy the privately on their private platform. Right. Okay. And next page. Right. Next, there are some functions regarding to the UAV control platform. Right. So I need just pop up to the next page or explain more detail. I don't know the right. Okay. Here good. Here 4 major functions for the UAV control platform. One is can assign the task and the management the flying tasks. And the second part, we have some AI capabilities on this platform integrated. And for the people, when they are control the UAVs, they just can sitting inside of the office, and you can operate it on your laptop. And also there are lots of functions we can do, some like security management or etc. Such kind of functions, right? Next page, please. Right. This page demonstrates how the UAV main body is working with the automatic hangars. According to that video introductions, for this hangar, they can do the automatically charging, and also can control the UAV main body's automatic taking off and landing. Right. Next one. Here following some user cases, how the UAV solutions can ensure like the city safeties. This is the user case we have deployed with the in the China mainland, working with the police, just doing the whole city. Some areas can check in what's the the outside scenarios, such kind of things, working with the police, right? Can you go to next one? Right, this is some user cases doing the inspections on the campus area. Still the same solutions. They just doing the within the campus, they are doing their routine patrols, right? Next page. Next for the city control, like UAVs can, just doing the patrols on the city street, and can checking out where the traffic is, and also can doing the some management from the office part. Right, next one. Yeah, that's a user cases we have deployed in the Greece. That's called Paris port. That's one of the biggest port in Athens. So we deployed these solutions just doing the seaport inspections, right? I think that's all my topic. Since there are time limits, probably I write quite fast, right? Any questions?
Yes.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Guo Song. I think there's some question in the Q&A box. Please take a look
Right.
and check it. By the way, we provide all the speaker LinkedIn profile in the chat box. You can connect them for follow-up
Right.
questions
Right.
or explore any opportunity. So now
Right.
let me switch to another speaker, Derek Smith from Huawei. He's going to talk about 5G in mission critical vertical sector deploy all over the world from Huawei. Over to you, Dave.
Okay.
Thanks, Terence. Appreciate it. Hi, everyone. Really good to be with you today. My name is David Smith. I'm Head of Ecosystem Research here with Huawei's Service Provider Operation Lab in Ireland. Here we are researching the business model of mobile carriers and what those business models are going to be looking like in 5 to 10 years from now. Let's look at the agenda. Today, I'll just talk quickly about mission critical communications and really how they've evolved over time, and present then some use cases highlighting the advances brought about by 5G, and then look at the key role played by telecom carriers in providing secure, dedicated channels for mission critical communications. As we can see, mission critical communications has really moved so far from analog in the 1980s to digital in the 2000s, and also from narrowband to broadband in the mid-2000s. The applications have also moved on, as other speakers have talked about, from voice only to mobile high-definition video and AI. And the introduction of 4G-based networks in the 2010s really allowed for broadband digital trunking over LTE, and this was a massive step forward. 5G has now brought even more secure communications and also supports critical communication applications that need faster and more reliable communications like augmented reality, drones, precise positioning. 5G-based critical communication networks have now been rolled out by agencies worldwide, again, as some of the other speakers have talked about, the China Mainland Public Service Bureau, Hong Kong Police, USA FirstNet, South Korea, just to name a few. And indeed, in January this year, the FirstNet Authority announced a 10-year, $8 billion investment to upgrade all their applications to 5G. Since the availability of mission critical push to talk in release 16 of the 3GPP standards, the body has really pushed more and more critical communications focused standards. These standards have allowed for Tetra to 5G communications, and also they allowed, as the speaker from Nokia said, about the new railway standards as well. If you think about it, mobile telephony is really about one-to-one communications at its core, this unicast mode as it's called, with a separate channel required for every new user coming on board. But now 5G multicast, or 5MBS, allows for synchronous delivery of mission critical voice, data and video to groups of users, thus allowing for group updating functionality over 5G. Release 18 also introduced proximity services, and this is a key device-to-device technology that allows for 5G individual devices to detect each other and to communicate directly with each other using without a core network being present, and allows them to set up a mesh style network via other users' devices all the way back to the core network. Release 18 also strengthens the support for services like AOR and VR, and as I said, precise positioning, and also crucially now, non-terrestrial network integration as well. If we look at the comparison between 5G and Tetra, we can see why 5G mission critical has really taken off. We can see that mission critical over 5G covers all the existing Tetra features, but also far exceeds Tetra capabilities in the areas of group calling, video, SMS, and many other areas. As I said, it also allows for precise positioning as well as modern mission critical applications. It's also much more versatility in the devices used, including standard 5G phones, as well as integrated body cameras, drone-based video, and even VR and AR headsets. These 5G devices can be based on standard consumer devices sometimes, and as some of the other speakers said, can also be ruggedized. But then again, all these devices usually are considerably cheaper than the very specialized Tetra equivalent. Various body-worn wearables can also be used, and these can be used to monitor the health, wellness, and safety of the officers. And it's important to note that all of these can be produced in explosion-proof devices as well. When it comes to building out a dedicated mission-critical network, there are three main approaches that we've seen in action. The first option is to use existing public networks, and in this model, governments partner with the mobile operators. This allows public service agencies to adopt broadband capabilities faster and usually more smoothly. It is the option of offering, as some of the other speakers have highlighted, hybrid solutions, where some are part of the network, RAN or core can be dedicated or shared. Also on 5G standalone networks, operators can now offer slicing for segregated traffic and provide even more demanding quality of service guarantees. Examples of these in use include what they're rolling out now in the UK and also what they've rolled out in Finland. The second option that we've seen is a private network built with a carrier involved. A private network guarantees network availability, guarantees access, as well as the option of full customization. Under this model, dedicated spectrum usually assigned by the government, but the main downside of this is providing nationwide coverage in all the new masts and all the new sites to be rolled out is costly with a longer time to market. But this is the model that's been implemented by the USA FirstNet, South Korea, and France. And then we see the last approach is a self-built private network without the involvement of a carrier. And we've seen this in Dubai, NIDA. While many governments are opting for the public network sharing model to get a service up and running fast, they're also looking at longer-term solutions, using dedicated spectrum or expanding the network for additional reliability and coverage. This is a very simplified architecture. We've seen more details on with some of the other speakers too. But really what it shows is the ability to connect a 5G mission critical network to existing Tetra or police digital trunking handsets, as well as the ability to not only use 5G, but 4G, Wi-Fi networks, and indeed satellite non-terrestrial networks as well. The benefits of the 5G network are summarized in the table on the right. And really we're looking at is unmatched in terms of bandwidth and low latency. And both of these are essential now for high definition live video streaming. 5G was built up with security in mind, and this can be further enhanced with slicing over a 5G standalone core. But building a mission critical network using the existing public network reduces costs, speeds up deployment time, and gives wide coverage. Black spots can be dealt with by building additional sites, as we've seen in the Australian water case. And operators are best suited at keeping the network operational and are constantly upgrading their network with advances in new standards and new technologies. The ability to 5G to work with current Tetra equipment and network means a much easier transition and a very low learning curve for existing users. As we briefly mentioned in previous slides, one of the advantages of 5G standalone core networks is the ability to use network slices, virtual slices of the network, and allocate them to a set of users. Allocating this set of resource blocks to a defined set of users, say like police or firefighters, means they get a guaranteed level of service in terms of speed, bandwidth, and/or latency. This means that different sets of users can have a level of service precisely tailored to their needs, and this level of service can be altered depending on their needs. Slicing is now both widely used in mission critical applications, as well as we've seen in some of the other speakers, industrial based applications like ports as well and railways. Mission critical communications, as we said, covers much more than just the blue light emergency services. It also supports the safe and efficient operations of key transport infrastructure, such as airports, railways, and ports. And beyond these, it's also needed in essential services such as power and utilities, as well as key industries like oil and gas. While all of them have different needs, but they're all grounded in voice and video communications, as well as we've seen in the previous speakers, machine-to-machine IoT information sharing as well. Let's look quickly at some of the real-life use cases for the rapid rollout of mission-critical communications using the public network. One of the most widely deployed use cases that we've seen here and in other speakers is the use case for live video as well. This is the capture and sharing of real-time video by people on the ground with a control center, and then with the control center doing the analysis and sharing these with other sets of users as well. And this is all about making faster and better operational decisions based on data. If we look at 3 examples here, we can see just this year, in March of this year, when they're fighting the forest fires in Sichuan that broke out, the firefighters used real-time images from drones. The drones were able to get to places where the firefighters couldn't yet get to, so they were monitoring very high altitude mountainous areas, and the underground firefighters were then using this real-time video feed to effectively plan and combat the fire. In Hainan, the maritime patrol boats were sharing video already with VHF, but spotty coverage, poor quality. 5G allowed for real-time high-definition video feeds, and using AI, they can now automatically detect and react to issues. They could also use 5G drones for search and rescue. And starting back in 2020, the city of Kunming has been using 5G to provide for visitor security for large-scale events and conferences. They've demonstrated the ease of using 5G mobile drone cameras to rapidly deploy security checks in any location. If we look at the Hong Kong International Airport now, we can see they've always been at the forefront of technological innovation. They've implemented a 5G mission-critical proof of concept, backward compatible with the existing Tetra systems. The indoor and outdoor 5G system supports precise positioning, location tracking, easier group management as well. The system will support all areas in the running of the airport, internally, externally, looking at security, rescue, internal transportation, luggage management. And it allows for much better vehicle utilization, as well as the use of drones and robots. If we look at what they were doing here, we can see that the benefits to the metro were moving from online to real-time monitoring, moving from narrowband to 5G push to talk, moving from text images to video, moving from offline upload to real-time monitoring as well. If we look at what's happening with the Hong Kong police, they put out a very big 5.5 billion Hong Kong dollar request for information at the moment. And they're looking to move from, again, a Tetra supported voice only to a video focused implementation. And they're looking at rolling out a phenomenal amount of new base stations, dispatch systems, and digital imaging process as well. And of course, the main reason that we've seen here, as we've seen in a lot of the other use cases as well, is to move from the prime text only or voice only to real-time video as well. If we look at what's happening here in Shenzhen, the use of 5G slicing allows for a dedicated network for police communications, which guarantee performance levels. The police can use advanced 5G equipment, such as real-time video body cameras. And also they put up 5G routers in all the police vehicles and on drones, mobile patrol boats. And also they're able to use advanced technology, such as augmented reality AR glasses in their daily operation. And again, this is routed through the slicing the private network, which again is guaranteeing data security. Working with our partners in TD Tech, Huawei has a full range of mission-critical terminals, software, and applications, including body-worn equipment, dome cameras, handheld devices, vehicle-mount equipment, explosion-proof terminals, and control center consoles as well. But we also work in every implementation with a wide range of local and global partners to bring in a full complement of mission-critical devices and especially mission-critical applications. So again, if we summarize the 4 quick takeaways from here, we're looking at that the shift from narrowband trunking to 5G mission-critical trunking is now the inevitable trend really in mission-critical communication services. 5G and mission-critical communications already extensively deployed, multimedia trunking services as well as key applications in transport, public security, as well as the government sectors. Sharing the 5G network delivers a very quick win, and over time, dedicated 5G frequencies or networks or additional sites can also be added. And the 5G end-to-end solutions that are already in place and the network solutions are already well developed, and there is already a wide variety of terminals available. Thanks for your time, and I look forward to catching up over the Q&A as well. Thanks, Terence.
Yes, thanks again, David. Always very good wrap up about what you present. Very good. Thank you very much. And yeah, looking forward for to visit China or Hong Kong to see more of this kind of a real project. And now, last but not least, we have a very good lineup of a panel discussion moderated by Kelvin again from TCC. So let me introduce all the 3 speakers. Prakash Setagopan, Global Leader, Enterprise Business, Cloud and Network Services from Nokia. Dr. Jody Wong, Police Fellow, Center of Science and Policy from University of Cambridge. Dr. Jody Wong is also the ex-CTO of Hong Kong Police Force. And then also joined back by Monique Ali from Airbus. Over to you, Kevin.
All right, my audio working. Fine,
Yes.
everyone? Excellent.
Perfect.
Thank you, and thanks Prakash and Jolly and Muneeb for joining us in this panel. I mean, we're starting to run out of some time, but I think we've got some tremendous experts here on this panel, and to make things move along quickly, Jolly, you've had a lot of experience in your career migrating major police force from a technology and operational perspective, from analog to digital narrowband, end-to-end ecosystem, and obviously from David's coverage of what Hong Kong police are looking at now. I mean, what's some of your sort of advice, I guess, in undertaking projects of this sort of scale in critical business like police or otherwise?
Okay, thank you, Kevin. Thank you for having me, and hi everybody. It's my great pleasure. So perhaps that I am always a strong supporter of 2 C's. The first one is the convergence of technology in supporting the policing work. That all previous speakers have spoken a lot about the convergence of technologies. There's another C that I would like to share with my experience on the use case and my end user perspective, that is about the coexistence of narrowband and broadband at this juncture. The reason I think that another C, coexistence, is equally important at this point, because for narrowband systems, that I think is pretty much relevant to organization-centric group communications. And for broadband systems, I think they are much relevant to information-centric operations. So if I can elaborate slightly, narrowband systems are likely to be around and built because they are built for a very, very long time. Technologies that all previous speakers has touched on, like Tetra, P25, DMR, they are obedience, what they have been designed for. So that is what I describe as the organization-centric scope communications and messaging. And in many places, there's also some narrowband spectrums worldwide available. But in parallel, I think that all speakers has pointed out that some nationwide shared critical communications has been or will migrate to 4G LTE or 5G services to enable the transitions to information-centric operation, which I described. But during the transitions, both narrowband and broadband that will be used simultaneously, as the migration cannot be done overnight. So this is the kind of interworking solutions that can connecting all these groups communications is required. And that is my technical perspective. But if you may allow me to mention a little bit about this question in a more philosophical angle, I hope you gentlemen don't mind. I would like to mention about, because I'm a Chinese, we have the Chinese philosophy, the concept of yin and yang. So I presume that most of our attendees that will understand what the yin and yang means. It's the kind of the Chinese philosophy. It means the independence, duality of opposing forces that interact to form a dynamic systems in which the whole is greater than the assembled parts. So everything has both yin and yang aspects. For example, a shadow cannot exist without light. That is my example of yin and yang. Okay, so how is relevance and connect to our mission critical communications? For the core functionalities of voice-based mission critical communications, as all speakers just pointed out, that instant, resilient, secure, and always available. So this I described it, they are the yin aspect of the mission critical communications. And because they are relevant to reliability, legacy systems, and consistency. On the other hand, many speakers have pointed out the importance of broadband network that I describe as the YANG, that is the data-driven mission-critical communications, that in support of multimedia applications, streaming video, social media. You can name all these things. So basically, these are the three very important elements that in data-driven mission-critical communications, such as innovation, agility, and data-driven approach. With these, that you can rely on the convergence of AI, IoT, and all other technology to make it to achieve the fullest benefits of the broadband networks. So I think with these two items, I would suggest that at this juncture, perhaps we are actually looking into the new balance of yin and yang. That is about how to properly balance the convergence of technology and coexistence of narrowband and broadband systems. So I've been very watchful about time, Kevin, so perhaps I should stop here.
Yeah, thanks, Jolly, for that. And look, Prakash, I'd like to hand over to you just to talk about some of the other things that are happening in respect to critical broadband and areas like AI and security. I mean, would you like to give some other insights around those, and also the, if you like, the technology, transition strategy, these sorts of areas that, some have been covered, but I think AI, cybersecurity is a really important aspect.
Yeah, fantastic. Kevin and team, thank you. It's 2 a.m. for me in California, so I'm very happy to be on this forum and share some insights. To your questions that you asked, right? So we ran a survey earlier in the year at MWC where we asked public safety customers, what is key priority for you, right? And we gave them a choice of 9-10 items for them to choose. And almost 40% of them came back and said trust. Security was the big first call out. The second one was interoperability. And the third one was simplified operations. So Kevin, incidentally, what you just asked me to speak about connects to those three topics. So first, let me take up the topic of trust. So the key risks that the critical communications world face today, if I may say this candidly, is lack of cyber hygiene. So that's number one, right? And there is an increased threat factor on network infrastructure attacks, especially, with the increased supply chain risks. And there is some element of cloud that is coming in, and its associated risks cannot be ignored. And there is obviously, we have a significant increase on malware on subscriber endpoints. Endpoints is the critical vulnerability that we have to always be careful of. And we cannot also ignore the fact that orchestration and management plane attacks have also been increasing, correct? And finally, we are getting into this API world. It will only increase the threat vectors as they become even more open and disaggregated. So in that, obviously, now that I've stated the problems, some of the mitigation approaches is when we look at the network infrastructure, it is needless to say hardening and especially segmentation is going to be very critical. And encryption and patch management, we've seen so many cases where patch management challenges, especially even for service providers, has taken systems down. Second, cloud associated risks. RBAC is very important. Encryption is very important, correct? And obviously ensuring that just because you're using a public cloud, let's say even for any small element, even productivity elements, you have to ensure that you have your own cloud security architecture and not just rely on just the public cloud provider. Third important, API exposure. Secure communication, rate limiting, throttling, ensuring you have a good gateway. These are all important items, I can go on. So security is a very important element. And now that we are move into the world where we are getting a lot more disaggregated as we get into 4G, 5G infrastructure. So the transition, I'll come to the answer for AI in security world as well. Park that thought for a minute. So you talked about transition, let's face it, 5G SA standalone is still nascent. But in order to get there, what critical communications world and public safety specifically will have to look at is start with the cloud native 4G private wireless. That gives you a risk mitigated, easy start and easily migratable to 5G SA. Because let's face it, Radio is not that complicated. Core is the most challenging domain to migrate. I say this sitting in Nokia where we do all of this. Despite that, I say because that is the architectural challenge that we face. And eventually what we have to definitely look at is a hybrid 4G, 5G SA approach, because that will streamline. And 5G SA is essential, as somebody was presenting about all the use cases that come into play. So from a transitioning perspective, we have to take this into consideration, looking at a hybrid approach. Now, if this is on everybody's lips, which is AI. So the way we look at it in Nokia Cloud and Network Services and larger Nokia as well, we have disaggregated the whole concept of AI in 3 layers: sense, think, and act. Sense is about all the correlation, the normalization, and acquiring of all the data that we get. There is no dearth of data that we get. But where we lack is the think and act part. And the think and act part now is where we actually now have traditional AI mechanisms and Gen AI mechanisms. So that's the world we live in, which is the coexistence of this. The interesting aspect of this is when we look at AI now can help us with autonomous operations. And in autonomous operations, there are 3 vectors. It helps with analytics, it helps with security, and also helps with simplified operations. It connects back to what I was saying when we did the survey. Simplified operations is becoming a critical aspect because you have to do more with less. Finally, my last point to add, we cannot do this all by ourselves. I spoke about the API economy. So there's got to be a level where we have to start opening up the network, the private 5G wireless network, where there are application developers that can start using the power of the network in an open economy through a digital marketplace. If you ask me, are we there yet? Absolutely not. But this is not something that we can miss out, because that is definitely going to come and hit us. So in summary, trust, interoperability, and autonomous operations. Those are going to be key, and ensuring all of this underpinned by a very strong 4G, 5G transition path is something that critical service providers have to look at.
Yeah, some great insights there. And I think people who are contemplating this transition need to make sure that they've made considerations in all of these areas. Quite often, they take the approach of putting in a private network like they did with narrowband without considering all of these other aspects that are going to come in front of them. Whether they're ready now or not, they will be here in the future and need to be taken into account as people define their migration strategy, hybrid strategy, whatever it is. So I think commonly when you travel the world, and I think Jolly the same, and Manib, we see if you like, lack of understanding of some of these things that operators and end users will need to take account of and factor into their procurement and their evolution strategy, whatever that life cycle is of those contracts or their engagement with whoever their providers are. So, Manib, obviously, Airbus and with your background, you've transcended a lot of these areas and, are now actively involved as a company in trying to merge these worlds. In respect to some of the non-terrestrial side, what are some of the outlook you're seeing? I mean, obviously the company is involved, through Space Division in the actual non-terrestrial equipment, but in terms of the mission critical side, the sort of key use cases we're seeing come up around using NTN. Yeah, so the hybrid strategy that we have in Airbus is based on two-prong approach. I would say a classical hybrid where we were talking about an integration between a narrowband existing and a broadband network, which was, narrowband could be anything from Tetra, P25, DMR, etc., and a broadband could be anything of MNO network, private network, Wi-Fi, or SATCOM, etc. But now we are seeing a new hybrid strategy as well that you have highlighted, which is a broadband hybrid strategy, meaning a primary carrier, which is a 4G or a terrestrial, either an MNO or a private network or private Wi-Fi, etc., and a non-terrestrial network, which is Wi-Fi. So Airbus is contributing a lot in standardization of these non-terrestrial network. We are working with, as I've presented the case in Icon Water specifically, we are working with
with our partners to deploy multi-technology routers that enable the different kinds of carriers into a router, where a user would be able to migrate seamlessly from a terrestrial carrier into a non-terrestrial carrier. These are some of the examples that are already of the solutions that are already deployed. But we are also working in our blue box innovation projects for direct-to-device kind of communications as well, where a mission critical user standing alone would be able to communicate directly through the satellite. So these are the initiatives that you will definitely see coming in upcoming future.
Yeah. Look, just a very, final question for, a 30-second grab from each of you. Personal and public views on why it's so important to follow the standards, whether we need certification, and, past experience and what we should highlight for going forward in the future as broadband and NTN evolves. Prakash?
I think that's a critical aspect, correct? Which is why it comes back to the whole concept of interoperability and simplified operations, correct? So that is going to be a critical aspect of it, and that's something we cannot ignore.
Yeah. Let me change the question a little bit for you, Jolly. It's off the back of the comments you were making before, and standards. How important is it for us to be collaborative in driving forward the 6G standards?
Wow. I think this is a wonderful question. But you asked for 30 seconds answers, I understand. Okay. Basically, I would tap on that shift of mindset. As one of our panelists just mentioned, I think that we really need to have a trust mindset, because all the previous generations of cellular, 3G, 4G, 5G, they're primarily designed to increase data speed and capacity as the part and parcel of the best average service delivery. All these other functionalities like reliability, availability, security, and sustainability, and they are just addressed as add-ons. So collaborative efforts, as you just pointed out, is so important that in formulating, designing, and preparing for the next generation of our mobile communications. And that is the destiny and the only way out that the vertical application and use case that will be fully realized. Yeah.
And Mandeep, look, you've worked in multiple jurisdictions and continents. Just your thoughts on why it is so necessary for us to collaborate at a local level and also harmonize at a global level.
I think this domain of mission critical, and especially working with a lot of recent cases and partners in Australia, and the case that I have presented, our experience is that the ecosystem of broadband mission critical is extremely complex. In a narrowband environment, there was one player that was supplying end-to-end services, so applications, core, access network, and devices. And it was very simple for a customer to go to that one vendor and penalize him for any of the misconduct in any of the layers of the network services. But now the services and the application layers are extremely complex. So if the standardization is not followed, then this whole ecosystem and the puzzle won't be able to come together. So I believe standardization and working on standards is extremely important if you want to deliver a reliable, trusted end-to-end service to end customers.
Look, I think we've run out of time and I'll hand back to Terence, but I think there's a clear message here about our industry from a technical perspective, an operational perspective, a functionality perspective, need to align as much as we can to ensure that we deliver interoperability to the end users. And no organization, no country, no vertical market can do this alone in our critical industries, let alone across the board. And I think, all the messages we've seen here just underline and underscore the fact that we need to work together. It's part of TCCA's mission to bring this community together and work with the likes of GSMA to make sure we're socializing end user needs, technical needs, and the ability to get this technology into the hands of users, and clearing the path from a regulatory spectrum perspective, because we have these solutions, we need to clear the path so we can deploy. So thank you all for those that have presented today, and I'll hand over to you, Terence, to wrap up.
Yes, thank you very much. I think today is a very good joint webinar between GSMA and TCCA, showing the audience in the APAC and also Europe and Middle East Africa region about how we work together to support evolving the existing TETRA system into a 4G, 5G or a hybrid network, enhance the public safety services. Again, I think this is only beginning. We will work closer in the upcoming activity to make sure that we are all synchronized to maximize the synergy to support the industry. So I just highlight actually a lot of activity we are ongoing. I think Alan and also Kelvin mentioned that the Melbourne event on October. So welcome to join us in Australia to continue the dialogue. And then before that, actually, we also have Mobile 360 at Seoul. So if you want to visit the Love Asia Innovation, please come. And of course, this is also a regional conference. We have a speaker from all around the region and also from Europe and US as well. And next month, we also have a Jakarta event about manufacturing and mining. So welcome to join us. So today's section, hope you can enjoy. Thank you very much to stay with us for over 2 hours. Actually, we overrun for 30 minutes, but I still see many people staying here. Thank you very much. So the session will be recorded and welcome to watch back again. And please connect to our speaker online, and then see you somewhere online or physical. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you all the speakers, especially Prakash, who joined us from US. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.